Should we have the right to protest in any situation? Well, hello, and thanks for tuning in for another of my 5-minute culture talks. As I'm speaking to you today, the Queen's body is about to be moved from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Hall. And it's you can't watch anything else on the telly. Every piece of news is about the Queen and about the funeral and the arrangements for it. But that's not what I'm talking about today, because what I'm talking about is the actual idea of whether those who want to protest about the monarchy should have the right to do so. It was interesting that as the Queen's children were following the hearse through Edinburgh, somebody shouted out against Prince Andrew and was effectively attacked by the crowd and indeed was then arrested. And it led me to reflect on this idea of whether we should have the right to protest and speak out about things that we don't agree with. There's a long tradition of people who are ready to speak out. One of my great heroes has always been Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King, who was always ready to speak out against the established racism of the segregated states. And of course, he was ready to die for that belief. He was ready to actually give up his life. And it's interesting looking at people through history, how many people have been willing to take their protest to such an extent that they're actually willing to give their lives for it. A famous example would perhaps be from history of Marcus Tullius Cicero, the great Roman orator, who so disagreed with Rome's drift into imperialism that he was beheaded for his beliefs in an attack by Mark Antony's soldiers. And history's not short of that. In fact, we even have the word martyr to describe someone who is willing to believe in something so strongly that they're ready to give their lives up. Now, I'm not here to say that's right or that's wrong, or you should do this or you shouldn't do that. I always remember Bertrand Russell's famous phrase, I'd never give up my life for a cause. After all, I might be wrong, he used to say. And that's true, because you'd have to believe in something so much that you were willing to put yourself on the line, that your life was at risk. And clearly the people that are speaking out against the monarchy or against the Queen, I suspect aren't willing to give their lives up for such a protest. But of course, what we're talking about is actually the right to protest itself. We have a word for it. We call it a gadfly, the idea of a fly that annoys and stings and pricks and things. Pete Singer, the great utilitarian moralist, is often called a modern gadfly because he's so ready to engage with and speak with controversial issues and challenge ideas and challenge things that we take for granted. And don't we need that? Don't we actually need people who say, is this a right belief? Are we acting in a right way? You know, there's a danger, especially in our social media age, that we take things for granted, that we just assume things are because there's so much voice speaking out for it on the internet, on the media, about people's behaviours, about people's attitudes. And actually what we need the gadflies, perhaps, to just prick us and to challenge us and to say, are you sure about that? Have you got reasons for thinking that? Maybe you're wrong to think that. Cicero died for his belief. He wasn't the only one. Socrates was often called the gadfly in ancient Greece because he challenged, as it was said, the youth of Athens, and he was put to death for it. Great thinkers who perhaps are ready to challenge the status quo, the established beliefs. I'm not saying they're right or they're wrong. I'm just saying investigate, think about, and ask the question, is the accepted belief always the right one? Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed watching it. If you have, please like the video. Please encourage your friends to watch and like the video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And I hope to see you again next week, once a week, 5 Minute Culture. Thank you. See you again.